justice! No 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 peace! See, I told you. Freedom of speech. I told you.
Every minority here is a coward. Every minority here is a coward.
It's not funny,
bro.
bro.
With the oppressors.
It's not funny at all. Yo, we at the police station. They got these faggot ass motherfuckers out here smiling at us.
The right to protest.
They got snipers. You think you coward? Yeah, bitch,
Work for us, though.
Yeah, drink your shit, man. Drink your shit, bro.
I'm listening.
Coward. Yeah, get the fuck out of here.
From what I heard, that's what it sounds like.
Coward, bro. Because he's mad, bro. They hate when black people come together. They hate it. They hate it.
Tell they man, they hates it.
He hates it, man. Get them mad. They hate it.
My boys stayed over there until Rotterdam police left.
Exactly.
Now there's mad people coming down here just to protest.
You already know, bro. You follow the way. Follow the way. I hope y'all cleared up y'all schedules for tonight.
Cause y'all gonna be busy. I ain't gotta be to work until 1 tomorrow.
Okay, the situation right now wrapped around the side of the building here at the Schenectady Police Department. You've got police officers here from not only the Schenectady PD, you've got also Niskayuna officers here, a number of Niskayuna officers seen here at the back gate. Joined by my friend Peter Barber from the Daily Gazette here. Peter, a longtime photographer with that organization.
No peace! No justice! 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 No peace!
A quickly developing situation here. Much the same fashion as Albany PD.
He's got the biggest dick in his ass.
Albany PD saw last night prior to a tremendous amount of violence in the city of Albany last night. This was the same fashion that situation started at the Arch Street police station in the Albany south side of South Pearl Street. That situation, as you know, and most of you watched the coverage from last night, quickly becoming very dangerous and very out of control as officers moved very angry individuals, similar to this situation, off of the police department property and onto the South Pearl Street corridor, eventually moving those protesters in a northerly direction along South Pearl Street, past the Times Union Center over onto State, eventually getting those protesters to disperse. But
No, you're not a man, bro. I'm not your buddy, bitch. Fuck out of here. I'll never be your buddy. Fuck you.
not without a tremendous amount of destruction and violence and damage in the downtown Schenectady or downtown Albany area last night.
Yeah, because they smiling, bro.
But a small group of people here taunting police officers that are remaining in place in a shoulder-to-shoulder stationary stance with riot gear in place, got their helmets and riot shields with some barricades in place at the side section of the Schenectady Police Department.
Just like that. What is the need for the show of people outside tear gas?
have not been violent. You have not shown a single sign of violence.
Exactly.
Not a single sign of violence. Not a single sign of
These folks questioning the show of force here at the Schenectady Police Department.
There's a lot of outside press that
came out here peaceful. We did the same thing to them that we're doing now. We talked to them, we walked with them. They packed up and they left.
We're going to take a step across the street, give you an overview shot of this situation here that's still developing outside the Schenectady Police Department. Again, about 30 or so protesters here in place on the Lafayette side of the Schenectady Police Headquarters here in Schenectady, New York. Unfortunate situation to see some of these individuals actually taunting officers, saying inappropriate things to these officers, no more than about an arm's length away from some of the officers that are in place here at the back gate of the police department's headquarters. Much different situation here now than what unfolded earlier when Chief Clifford here of the Schenectady Police Department greeted some of these same folks.
Don't start with me, all right? Right. The court system, politicians, the programs like redlining, banks, all those problems. Like, I've got my own little world, right? I've got my 9 square miles, and what I can do to help people is 9 square miles, that I can do that. The bigger systemic problems,
Every letter of that.
Well, yeah. Every letter in the alphabet.
It on your shoes and you're like, what's up? No justice! No peace! 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 No justice! No peace!
1, 2, 3, 4.
Look at this nigga, bro. He's real tough.
Why is that necessary?
Looking like a ninja turtle.
They're looking for signs of aggression. Somebody can at any time post a video.
Hey, someone get this nigga up.
Yeah, look, everyone's saying.
What are you trying to tell me? Right? When I sat there and was asking for y'all to come and talk to us, I ran away.
What? Yo, y'all stay woke. Stay woke out here. Y'all stay woke.
I'm going to back away from some of this situation in light of what I experienced last night, being actually shot by a rubber bullet and hit with several doses of tear gas. I'm going to maintain a bit of a distance, at least for now, until it can become clear what the plan may be here outside the Schenectady Police Department. Some things shifting around here, unclear as to what might happen to these protesters who are clearly only just about an arm's length away from that row of police officers here at the Lafayette side of the Schenectady Police Headquarters. Clearly an inappropriate situation developing there at this hour. Still just a verbal chants happening here, nothing aside from that, no violence being seen here other than some persons here who appear to be very, very passionate. Some of the persons more on the inappropriate side of the things that they're saying to these officers. I'm going to step back across the street for a few moments and give you an overview shot here of the situation that's still developing here outside the Schenectady Police Headquarters on the Lafayette Street side of the building here.
That's a big hope. I don't leave the house.
I'm a house cat, as they say, right?
So it's easy to get these tactics. Something. I haven't been in my building.
No real increase here in the amount of people that are involved. It's been the same approximately 25 to 30 or so persons that we first started filming about an hour ago. Some of those persons were located at a position in front of the Proctor's Theater. There was some movement there by police to disperse those persons, and they were gathered pretty thick in that location. It was a shoulder-to-shoulder stance of these protesters at the Proctor's Theater on State Street in Schenectady, and that lasted for well over an hour. Despite the fact that State Street is actually closed in front of Proctor's, you've got wooden barricades in place on either side of Proctor's, somewhat down the street on both sides of the theater. No traffic being permitted to travel through there. That whole corridor, in fact, is closed to traffic, and a number of police with riot gear ending up maintaining a shoulder-to-shoulder stationary stance there at the front doors of Proctor's. There was a van that sat down there for some time, and there was multiple shifting of a number of police vehicles in that area. Fortunately, nothing occurred at that time at that location. There was really nothing to film. Persons were dispersed there rather quickly, and many of those persons then made their way here to the police headquarters, where they spent some time in front of the building, and it appears they decided to move here to the Lafayette Street side of the headquarters facility after not really getting the attention of anyone while in front of the building. There's been police officers here on the Lafayette Street side of the headquarters all day. So presumably these folks decided to move over here and get into a position where they could be seen. Getting closer to officers at this point, and some exchange going on over here verbally. Clearly, officers here at the police department are positioned in such a fashion so as to maintain the protection of the police facility itself. They're inside a gated area on two sections of Lafayette Street, and they are simply maintaining position to keep persons out of that police facility. And some of these folks that are gathered here are taunting the officers, wondering why they're geared with riot gear and why they're wearing all this protective equipment. And they're continuing on with some related taunts. Now there seems to be more of a peaceful exchange going on between a number of the officers and the persons that are gathered here. Many of the persons, young people. And again, a group of police officers from multiple agencies here surrounding the area. State police can be seen here, as well as Niskayuna police and some other patches that I don't readily recognize from where I'm standing. We'll continue to film here. Unfortunately, this was a very similar situation last night at the Arch Street Police Station in South Albany. As most of you know, that was the beginning of what transpired in the city of Albany last night. A similar situation here now that you're watching. A group of people gathered outside the Schenectady Police Station.
No peace! No peace! No peace!
put myself in that predicament. You feel me? Exactly. So
We're having a nice piece of
I learned from two good people in my life, Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. I'm not going to sit here and put hands on nobody. I'm not going to be violent towards nobody. I'm going to sit here and let my voice be heard.
That's why we're having a great conversation.
Right, exactly, and that's why I show you two respect. This is the most conversation I've gotten out of the
respect you too because
since I got out of work.
You put a lot of thought into this, and that's a good thing.
Right.
I appreciate that.
And I think
Really to us all life.
thank you, and I appreciate that. And that's why when we were over at Proctor's, Rotterdam cops were sitting there not talking to us. There was only one cop that was talking to us. And then when we were at City Hall, there was Rotterdam cops that got and walked around City Hall with us. They sat there, answered our questions and all that. You know, and then you got this guy over here acting like an asshole, saying some crazy shit to us.
Here's the thing. So we're human too. Sometimes we get intimidated. We don't know what to say. Our words aren't perfect.
Right.
And that's why you may have had different experiences with different police officers. We're not that way. We talk to everyone.
And I appreciate that. That's what makes me have faith in somebody.
I offer hugs to anybody that wants a hug.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's my weapon of choice is hugging.
So what is you here for?
You know what I mean?
I'm here for change, bro. You can't change without talking. Bro, what the fuck you talking about, bro? We've been talking.
But he just made a good point. He did make a good point. You're not listening. He just made a good point. The point is, look at their badges. Look at their patches, bro. That shit says Niski Una. Niski Una, bro. These guys ain't like Schenectady. They ain't like Scotia. These guys is real. They took an oath and they vowed their life on it.
So why is it more Schenectady? Why is it Niski Una? Why is it
because these guys are protecting us.
Where's Schenectady? You tell me where Schenectady is.
Schenectady's in Schenectady.
How are these guys
Schenectady.
How are these guys protecting us, bro? How?
I didn't say that. I told
He said that. How are these guys protecting us? How?
That's what they said. That's what they said.
You mean that? How? How is this? How is this protecting us?
What you doing? Oh yeah. No, but I get that. But like earlier when we were standing out front, I was literally looking at Schenectady cops. Like there was, I don't remember who was standing out there. I think it was Niski or Rotterdam or somebody. But they were standing out front, and I was like, "Where's Schenectady?" And then we're walking back inside. Like that's not right. We had questions at that time that needed to be answered, and they walked away.
This guy's You know what you tell people? You want to tell people?
Oh no, I get that. That's why. No, I get it. 100%. And that's why the Rotterdam cops that were at City Hall, I showed them respect. And that's why my whole demeanor with these guys has changed. They were quiet at first when we walked up. Then you got this guy, you. That's admirable. You feel me? That's
hold this sign.
no, that's my sign.
How about I just tell you all lives matter? How about that? How about all
But right now we're focused on Black lives.
Where's your sign then? Where's your sign? That's your sign.
Hold on. You guys say all lives matter. We're focused on Black lives. Everybody that's here shouldn't have to be scared to be here.
They should not.
There's intimidation behind all of us. Because this is my point exactly. Why not put this shit down? We're right here talking.
It's protocol. It's protocol.
No, I get it's protocol, but look it. They got trained military dudes up there. You think they're really gonna sit there and let us do something to them? They got caliber rifles in this building. They got mag guns in this motherfucker. They shouldn't be scared of nothing.
As reasonable as you've been, we don't know everything. We don't know who else is out there.
Right.
And we're trained that, yes, you and I can have a dialogue. You and I can have an understanding. Right. But I don't know everything else out there.
Right.
So we have to protect ourselves and protect everybody in the streets at the same time to make sure the people we don't know that aren't aren't doing that. That's all it is. That's all it is.
You guys are lucky I'm understanding.
You know what we are.
That's one of my bad qualities, man.
No, that's a great quality. No, actually, don't ever suppress it. You know why? Because there's no reason to come out here if you don't have that quality.
You're right.
Because you want us to feel the same way.
Right.
And say, we need to be forgiving. We need to understand. You have the same quality inside yourself, and you just demonstrated it with us today.
Right.
That's how we fix it. That's how we fix it.
Communication.
We got to start from the bottom.
Communication's key.
This is exactly what we're looking for. We want change, and this is the first fucking step in the right direction. This is the right change we have been looking for. Now, we just gotta spread that message to every other precinct and every other cop who thinks they're above the law. These guys took an oath. I respect every last one of you guys standing right in front of me. I really do. Because if you guys really wanted to, y'all could bum rush this shit right now and kill us all. I appreciate it.
They're not gonna do that though.
If they wanted to, but if they wanted to, we could.
The only thing I don't disagree is what he said. No offense to you, it shouldn't be all lives matter. Obviously, yes, all lives matter. Right now, we're talking about people, minorities, people of color.
But all lives matter.
Well, they do. But right now, we're trying to awareness.
That's why I wouldn't just say what. Right. All lives.
We're talking about racism, separatism, and we're talking about oppression. You guys, no offense, but you guys of your background haven't had to go through what people of minority, people who've been in. Schenectady not innocent.
He hold himself.
I was going to say, all lives do matter. We're all equal by the end of the day. Minorities get treated worse for some reason. We've been oppressed.
I got treated bad by you guys. But the black lives, they do get treated way worse. You know what I mean?
And there's a system in place not to see us succeed, not to see us fucking rise above, not to even be equal. We get put down so much.
And even though I have my difference with him, that's still my nephew's growing up without a father now because of this situation. And like honestly, if you see all this is going around, that right there antagonizes people. That's antagonizing.
Yeah, like you said, all the people who got here.
Not just them. How it's set up and everything going around when I'm walking around. You stop for people that can't even get downtown. They gotta go make a whole detour. That's an but that's a whole different town. Albany. If we came down here peaceful.
Other people might come to the town like a different life. You're correct. You are 100% correct. And when I first got here, my first statement was, let's not let this get out of hand.
We don't want that either.
Could be people from, but the same people did Albany last night. Here, Albany's not too far away. You know what I mean? Yes, I can short drive.
I was talking about when he took his job to spread love. Not to spread hate, to spread love and hope.
She has a lot of people to talk.
You asked me, I mean, what you guys are doing now? What you doing now?
He gets a little with me because it's a lot easier to talk.
A lot easier to talk.
Show that we can get along, we can talk like people, right? Talk like people.
What we want to do is right? All of the we did right now is calls and all that stuff because we don't know. But had you guys just done that, even in Albany, had they done that, it would have been different. It would have been peaceful. When you get disrespect, you get it. For every action, there's a reaction. So that's what I'm saying. But you guys are not out here taking action. Now, if you don't know how we feel, how can you fix the problem? How can you understand us to the point? Proper cohesion is to make sure that you understand how everyone feels. You know, I'm not from here, but just
back up into the street, give you folks an overview shot of exactly what's going on here and how many people are on the Lafayette Street side of the Schenectady Police Department. No increase in the size or amount of people, size of the group of the people, just the same persons that have remained here for some time now. And this is transpired from some of these folks on the right-hand side of your screen actually taunting police officers to what is now peaceful discussions, interaction between persons here that have gathered and those police officers that are outfitted with that riot gear, those helmets and those shields. So a much different scene here outside the Schenectady Police Department tonight than what was noticed at the same time last night outside the Albany South Police Station on Arch Street. Last night about this time at that station, individuals, as you know or should know by now, became very violent and threw things at officers, damaged police vehicles that were there at that Arch Street station in Albany, with that situation quickly being pushed to South Pearl Street and north past the Times Union Center eventually, where things dispersed rather quickly on the North Pearl Street side of Albany. But it took a number of hours to get that crowd to disperse entirely, and that came in the wake of so much violence in downtown Albany. A number of businesses and locations losing windows, so much glass broken out downtown last night. A tractor trailer set on fire with flames about 40 feet into the sky and in between buildings in a very populated residential neighborhood on South Pearl Street near Westerlo. Tear gas and rubber bullets all night long during that incident in Albany. And we've got that coverage here on our Facebook page. If you didn't get a chance to see it yet, leave it there for at least a few days. Important to cover this stuff, important to show you from an independent journalist point of view exactly what's happening here in the Capital Region. Of course, being in Albany last night, here in Schenectady tonight. Haven't heard of any reports of any confirmed related activity anywhere else in the Capital Region, at least not as of yet. There were some rumors of activity on Hoosick Street in Troy, Lansingburg. No real confirmation on any activity anywhere other than here at the Schenectady Police Headquarters. As I mentioned earlier in this video cast, there was some activity outside of Proctor's Theater tonight on State Street in downtown Schenectady. That activity ceasing and desisting after maybe about an hour or so, with no incidents to report at that Proctor's Theater location. A lot of those same individuals moved away from the Proctor's Theater and here on to the police headquarters in the city of Schenectady, where you see these folks still gathered here, exchanging back and forth with an open dialogue with police officers here that are here from a multitude of agencies, presumably to do nothing more than to keep this facility secured. If you've noticed coverage from around the country in larger cities, this is certainly a measure that's well needed and certainly well in place at this point here in Schenectady. I'm going to keep the camera rolling here for just a few more minutes and continue to give you coverage here from the Schenectady, New York Police Station. If anyone is aware of anything else that needs coverage, and I hope that there isn't anything. But if anyone else becomes aware of anything that's confirmed, not Facebook rumors, because I've had no shortage of that coming through my inbox tonight, anything confirmed, please feel free to send that information to me here through the inbox, and I'll do my best to bring coverage from anything that might develop. And again, hopefully nothing develops. Schenectady Police Chief Clifford here with likely the best example of community policing that I've ever imagined possible earlier today, coming out of the Schenectady Police Department here on the Lafayette Street side, greeting about 1,000 people here that appeared on this side of the building. The Chief Clifford, with an open dialogue with the persons that were gathered here for a lengthy period of time before eventually joining with other police officers that were in place here in a kneeling and a moment of silence, which quickly diffused a lot of anger here, a lot of passion, a lot of emotion, all just disappeared in a moment's time, with the Chief of Police, Chief Clifford here in Schenectady, joining the protesters in a kneel and moment of silence earlier today at this location. The chief then eventually coming out of the back of the police department headquarters facility here, subsequent to that, and carrying a sign around the block here, around the police station, over onto Union from Lafayette, and back around, coming up the front side of the police station, and eventually greeting more of those protesters while in front of the police station here in Schenectady. A situation that by the time they arrived back at the police department was completely diffused. In fact, it was so diffused that there was a lot of handshaking, a lot of those bro hugs that people have always done, and selfies being taken with many of these police officers, and selfies being taken with Chief Clifford, questions being answered just as fast as anyone could address the chief here. So nothing really left to see here, a diffused situation again. There was some passion and emotion here when I first started filming. The situation now diffused. I've got some requests that I make my way around to the front of the police station, which I'm going to send somebody down there to see if there's anything for you to look at in front of the police station, and if there is, I'll certainly go down there and film that for you. I'll bring you a couple more moments of the coverage here on the Lafayette Street side. You can see there's really nobody left in terms of numbers. There's a small group over here on the sidewalk, more of persons kind of watching and witnessing the situation here. Not much of a situation at this point. Street is completely closed off all the way around the facility here. Got a vehicle that seems to have come through the police barricades there. Officers addressing that vehicle at this point. Probably, presumably a police officer or someone that works for the police department. They're letting that vehicle in at that point. But as I started to mention, a perimeter in place here around the police department. No traffic being permitted in the vicinity here. one more close-up look at the dialogue that's exchanging here between police officers from the Niskayuna and Schenectady police departments and the small group of persons that are here. Maybe limited to approximately 20 people at this point. Smaller than what was first in place here earlier in this video coverage.
And this is all disrespect. You ain't gonna get pulled over the same way we are.
I got pulled over this morning, dressed in all
I
black.
mean that with no disrespect at all, okay?
No, I get
is
that.
just
I
totally
get that.
different
I get that.
What you trying to preach or what we are trying to
I
preach.
get that, and that's
okay?
why I'm here
It's
with
just
you
totally
guys.
different,
That's why I'm
okay?
with you guys.
So you can't
You
be
understand
what we go
through literally just
emotional as
I know.
somebody who looks
I
like us
understand
that's
it.
always getting
I
killed all the
understand
time.
it. I understand. I do. I'm putting myself in your guys' shoes. That's what I'm doing.
You can't. That's what I'm saying.
And that's why I'm
You
having
don't
a hard
have
time
pants
with
that
it.
look like ours. You don't
But
have
I am
parents that
Mexican
look
and
like
I am
ours.
and
You
I
don't
am
have
Indian.
grandparents that
So I
look
face
like
the same
ours.
problem.
You don't have aunts, uncles that look like ours.
No, but I got
okay?
nieces,
So guess
nephews,
what?
cousins.
Now they killing women too.
Right, but I got
You wanna
nieces,
tell them,
cousins. I got all of them
okay?
like that.
Women that look like Nate.
I
Who go
get
to
it.
work every day trying to
I
help.
get it.
If one of these
And that's
motherfuckers get
fucked
hurt, we
up.
got to help them.
Right, and that's
as
messed
a nurse,
up.
but you killing us.
I get it.
Bro, this is a Black Lives Matter thing, bro. It's not.
Why do you think I'm
Stop
still
laughing.
holding the sign, bro?
Listen, we're
you're
trying to
trying
get
to
up
get
and hold
your
across.
I
That's
hold
the
the line,
thing.
bro.
We are trying to get
Because
up
we gotta
across.
start
That's
small.
No,
We
bro.
got to.
You're off topic, bro. That's it. That's you're off topic.
Right.
You're
Hundreds
off
of years.
topic, bro.
Hundreds of years.
I'm high.
Thank you. Yo, bro, come up here. Come up here, bro. Come up here, bro. Come up here, bro.
Hundreds of years. I'm a black man that was born and raised here.
Exactly, bro.
I have seen it with my own eyes. I can never like these injustices for hundreds of years, and there has not been a single change. There is no little step.
Exactly. It is the middle step, bro.
And I get
Come on, bro. Y'all trying to talk
Maybe you can
this
feel
shit,
hurt,
bro.
but you can't relate.
Bro.
What you talking about?
So I'm here for both. I'm not gonna sit there just
You can't be in these shoes.
And I get it, bro, because Schenectady is a certain type of place with a certain type of people.
Right, and
bro.
I get it, and I'm here for everybody.
Son, y'all niggas just doing what everybody else doing, bro. Y'all be here for the real reason, bro.
No respect for anybody trying to take that shit from me. I understand everybody. Everybody. That's why.
You still can't relate. You still can't relate.
But what about all the black
It's maybe understanding, it's maybe empathy, but you can't relate.
I've been listening with them.
I woke, bro. They not
I'm
woke,
not
bro.
saying I'm not woke. I'm not saying I
not
don't
woke, bro.
feel
You don't. You don't, my nigga. You don't, bro. You honestly don't, bro. You cannot sit here and try to speak on black
that was
people
in your
behalf.
family
You
that
are,
you
though,
was
bro.
to
You
have
are.
a knee on
I'm
their
speaking
neck.
for my relatives.
You are not
My
even your
relatives,
relatives.
babies.
You're not
They
in there.
can't come out
You're
here
not
and
in
defend
there. You're
themselves.
not in their shoes either, bro.
Yeah.
Jeez, bro.
Why is he even in the front lines to begin
I don't even know where he came show
Bro,
up.
he said he only came because his friend came. Like, come on, bro.
Get the fuck out of here, then. Like, what the fuck he is?
The only reason everybody is here right now is because me, him,
Exactly.
him,
Oh, God.
Been out here all day, bro.
and where's your friend?
Oh, he left. Yeah,
And his friend, the one in the white, was the only one still out here. So all that trying to tell us anything about what we're out here protesting is a dub. If what you're saying contracts what we're saying, just go home because you're not with
we
us.
out here, nigga.
You're not with us. There's no point in standing with us if you're not with us.
We standing against oppression, bro. Y'all trying to talk shit out.
We can't even talk to them
talking shit out, bro.
They ain't no superiors.
Exactly. Thank you, bro. Thank you, man. Thank you, bro. No, they not superior. What the fuck is we talking to them for?
And that's the one,
bro. What the fuck is we talking to them, bro? Come on. Ain't no change gonna happen from having a conversation.
Y'all work for us. What's the change?
Right? That's right, because that's
y'all work to serve and protect us. Like we pay us. Taxpayers pay us. All right, so now I'm white. I don't ever. Cops don't fuck with me. I get pulled over. They don't drag me out of cars when I'm not resisting nothing. But how come for years and years and years and years it's been the same thing? Nothing changes. All this shit happens. This has happened before. Nothing changes. You know what I'm saying?
I can't speak for everybody else before me.
No, I can't. I'm not saying that you personally do it.
But they don't.
If y'all work for us, why are you killing us?
And that's the same thing I just said.
How many will do it?
I've seen it.
A few will. But you ask them, like, walk out and protest against the ones with us, they're not going to do it. Exactly. Oh, nah, man. Like, my brothers in blue, nah, let me protect them. Nah, they ain't going to do it.
What I can tell you is training. If you just said you agree, then why are you here? If you agree with us, why are you standing right there for the paycheck?
They gotta take that shit.
Just for the paycheck. I'm using your words that you said out of your mouth.
Take your bag and everything off.
I mean, I just came home from doing 5 years in prison. All right, sat there watching news all the time. All you see is officer did this, paid leave. Officer killed this man.
I was saying that every time. A lot of times it's either suspended with pay or suspended without pay, but either which way. 9 times out of 10, you guys get your job. The people in this practice get their jobs or slapped on the wrist. But a lot of times
it's hard to not talk about specific instances because when the generalize, there's a lot of different good information and bad information that's simultaneously being put out there. So maybe something you see on the news isn't completely factual. And then when the facts of the case do come out, sometimes it goes one way, sometimes it goes another way. I can tell you, in my area in this I can speak for you, because we teach the law to kill. That's what we stand for. And what's going on, like I said, back to the training, procedural justice. Started in Chicago, procedural justice. It's talking about the process of how, not where you start, not where you end, how do you process and deal with people, real time, mutual respect, to get the best experience, even if the outcome's sometimes bad. Like,
that's what I'm saying. Yo, how do I make you leave?
And say, I respect that yourself. You know, that's his job to do. Maybe it was right, maybe it was wrong, but I respect it.
We've been here all fucking day. Peaceful. Y'all come back out like that. That wasn't like that earlier. That wasn't like that earlier.
Doing things like this?
Nah, I'm talking about like earlier. Nobody like that.
That's what I said to you. This is great. I sit down with you guys before. We'll talk all day. I can explain what I know about it.
You can tell he's scared. He got cars on his helmet. Word. Call of Duty looking ass.
It was not. And this is a smaller crowd, though. Let's be real. This is a smaller crowd than what it was earlier, and y'all did not come out like that, okay? Let's state facts. I was too. And there was people bopping horns, motorcycles revving, all kinds of nonsense. And it was not geared up like that. And and it was something that was acting up, but nobody geared up. I got it on my camera.
They definitely was acting up.
Okay, that's all I'm saying. I got it on my phone.
For George,
no justice, no peace.
Simple.
It's uncomfortable for some of you racists, but it got to happen.
9 times out of 10, you're going to take your side.
wouldn't create an issue where it would be our fault, you know what I mean? Where we would instigate. We don't. I mean, we're standing here talking, we're not looking to make issues.
So why do you have snipers? Why do you have snipers?
Some people don't know how to talk.
Come on, man.
That's people's.
Being right, yeah, we're talking. Yeah, we're right.
We don't need to see anymore. You're taking to a point there because talking the dialogue is clearly not working. Your solution to the problem was to try to vote to pick your better political leaders to represent us, right? You just said that?
I didn't say that.
That was the solution you gave us.
What's that? No,
is that what your solution?
No, I didn't say that.
You said that solution to our situation now was to pick a better political representative to represent us.
What I said was sowing seeds. It starts with the Egyptian. Yeah, it was the Egyptian. Yeah, for sure. It was definitely. He's a girl. You gotta start small.
I was like, I can't remember his name.
No matter what we do.
Good call on the race, though. Good call on the race. Some people think
from the sense of right now. I know what you're saying.
I'm not proud of it.
You know what, right now, because
not even saying that. I'm saying that your power is their power. Meaning that what you say, they're gonna do. Meaning that if you represent what you honestly feel deep down after seeing that video, they're gonna follow you, no matter what. Or they're gonna have their opinion based on how they feel. We're not saying we need something. We're saying we need something immediately. We need something just in general. I understand we can't use words like we can't use certain words.
Sorry.
I'm not saying you guys are angry.
Here we go.
saying you guys are fighting. I know you're angry. I'm not saying you guys are doing anything wrong. I'm saying if you guys actually talk to them, they was. Listen.
I mean, like, why would I want to talk?
That's why I was saying, like, there's no need to.
Why?
I'm gonna find her, yo. I remember she whipped my ass. I didn't really hit her. Oh.
Also, too, everybody has social media. Did you post anything about it? Did you share anything about what's going on? All over the place.
Nah, I was tired. I was pooping. Snuffing else and doing all that shit. That was a long time ago, but I learned my lesson. Man, I didn't know it was her. I just know I will never again. I was fighting. She got into it.
Thank you.
You're not gonna find it. You're not gonna find a comment anywhere.
This is a whole thing.
we're already failing. Without love, we're already failing.
Oh, this is good.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, no.
What's that?
The documentary? You know what it's changed? It's changed none of us. Let me tell you, it's changed a lot. You and I are moving. You realize that I'm you, so change it for this. It's the truth.
You were here earlier, right? Yeah. So what's your perspective on what's going on here at this point? You want to talk a little bit about that? My viewers are asking for you to come on camera. They're big fans of yours. Seriously, I got comments coming in about you like crazy.
I think right now they're still peaceful. They're doing what they have to do. Nothing's really going on. Just we wanted peace. They want to be heard. I don't think they were here earlier, so they want to speak their truth and they want to be heard as well.
So your assessment is basically you think these are new people that weren't here earlier and they're just here to bring forth the same message?
There was a lot of people there, and I don't have my glasses on, so I don't know if they were here. But they seem like they still have questions and they want to be heard. So That's what they're demanding. And they actually are, the police are cooperating as well. That's what I'm saying.
What was your opinion on the way things were handled earlier tonight, or earlier today, rather, this afternoon? Things, were you surprised to see the police interacting with you guys?
I was surprised. I didn't think they would do that. I have everything on camera.
Can you describe, some of that for people that are watching now that might have missed our coverage earlier? What happened down here?
What happened was history. We really made history. Me and 4 other people just wanted to come out and protest and bring peace. We wanted to be heard, and we didn't think any of this was going to happen. Guess we got to dream bigger.
What was your favorite part of what happened earlier? I know you were kind of lit up with some real excitement there for a time. We had you on camera earlier today.
My favorite part, when I was in there, I was talking to, I think it was the chief, and they got down on their knees. And also my favorite part, when they walked around and they marched with us. That was my favorite part.
That was a quick diffuser of some angry persons that were here. What was the type of emotion that you saw when everyone first arrived here? Did you feel that people were angry? Did you feel that people just wanted to speak their piece? What was the type of feeling in that crowd? There was a lot of people. There was probably about 1,000 people, right?
I didn't think it would be that big, but the emotion I feel like everyone felt, we're all angry, yes, but we all want the same thing. We want to be heard. We want to be felt. I feel like today we were heard.
Okay.
I just hope it continues.
Now, for tonight, obviously we're here at dusk. What would you say? Would you encourage these folks to stay here? Would you tell them to go home? I feel like you're kind of a voice of reason here at this point. Do you think these guys are right to be here at this point?
Yes. They have stuff to say. They want to be heard. It's not illegal to protest. We have our right. So if they feel like they need to protest, that's why I'm here as well. We want the same thing. We want peace.
Okay. Any thoughts of any kind of crazy things planned for the city tonight? I saw some blockades kind of downtown earlier. I saw something kind of going on over at Proctor's for a little while. You haven't heard of anything that you're expecting, have you?
I haven't heard anything, but people are just taking precautions. I do know that.
Okay. We'll let you join your folks over there. Anything else you wanted to add that I didn't ask you?
I just want to we made history today. They helped us make history. As a people, we made history today.
You really did. Okay, I want to thank you. You can shout out your name if you want.
Thank you. I'm Brianna Johnson.
Okay, Brianna Johnson. You live here in Schenectady?
I do.
All right, thanks for coming on camera with us.
Thank you.
All right.
We're not talking about anything relevant.
So no increase in size of the persons that are here, the size of the group, and no real situation here to continue to report on. I'm going to break down this coverage here in just about a minute or so. I'm going to back out and give you an overview shot. The perimeter around the city police department here in Schenectady, New York remains closed. There's barricades in the street. It's closed off to traffic here. There's a police vehicle at the end of Lafayette here, presumably getting ready to come into Lafayette. Multiple police agencies, not just the Schenectady Police Department here this evening. You've got a multitude of different agencies here. Saw some state police here, as well as Niskayuna Police, and some other agencies as well. Some patches that I didn't readily recognize, and what didn't quite get close enough to read the names of those agencies. But as you can see, a extremely small group of persons that are here, and nothing left to really show you or report. CBS 6 is stationary here at the corner of Lafayette, and I think that's Liberty there that runs in front of the city police department headquarters here in Schenectady. Some different news organizations here tonight. Saw our friend Peter Barber with the Daily Gazette, also the Recorder now in Amsterdam, New York. We saw, of course, CBS 6 here. Appears to be some more of that chanting going on now. Take you in for a look at that before we wrap up our coverage for now.
I can't breathe. I can't breathe. I can't breathe.
I can't breathe.
I can't breathe.
I can't breathe.
I can't breathe.
I can't breathe.
I can't breathe.
I can't breathe.
I can't breathe.
I can't breathe.
I can't breathe.
I can't breathe.
I can't breathe.
Okay, we're going to back out and conclude our coverage here, at least for now, outside the Schenectady Police headquarters on the Lafayette side of the building. A peaceful demonstration here, very positive exchange with officers, and open dialogue going here with several of the officers. Got approximately 15 or so officers on this side of the building, more officers on the opposite end of the fence perimeter here on the Lafayette Street side, and street closures all around the building, as I've been mentioning. No traffic being permitted in the vicinity of the police station here in Schenectady.
Won't come down here though.
And that's all the coverage that I have for you at this point. If anything develops, if the size of this group increases, or certainly any notable news to report, we will come back on our Facebook Live ability here.
Who do we call for help?
They've been smirking and grinning at us.
Who do we call?
Oh,
y'all killing everybody.
I'm tired of this, bro. Come on, y'all want to be cowards and stand down? Y'all do y'all. I'm not standing down. Come on, man.
Okay, we're going to pull back out of here. That's the conclusion of the coverage, at least for now. As I've mentioned, we will bring coverage back on camera if there's a need to do that here in the city of Schenectady. Haven't heard of anything in any surrounding city here in the capital region. Haven't heard of any notable incidents or items of news that necessarily need to be covered. Some smaller things this evening, but nothing of any significance. Folks, feel free to send a message to the news page inbox here if you have any confirmed activity that you feel needs coverage. I'll do my best to get to it. For now, wrapping up this coverage here outside the Schenectady, New York Police Headquarters with what is a peaceful, open dialogue protest with officers and persons here that are gathered on the Lafayette Street side of the building. You've been watching Fulton County Area News. Stay safe, everybody.